Alrighty, welcome back everybody to our latest live stream. Hope everybody's having a good afternoon so far. I'm gonna go throw this out right off the bat. It's gonna probably be a pretty echoey stream, and it might be, I don't know if it will be. But in addition to that, this is being recorded in a completely different area than our normal live streams, and I just want to throw that out right off the bat. This is probably not gonna be a super long live stream because it is a very poor setup as of right now. A lot of things have to go down before this actually becomes our main studio, but as of right now, we're not in the main studio. I don't have lighting either, so there's a lot of things that I don't have right now, but we're going to still have a live stream, give you an idea of what's happening here with Tropical Storm Hillary as it moves towards California, bring the threats for some excessive rainfall and a lot of other threats. So again, we're going to have a pretty deep dive live stream here in terms of what to expect. I haven't had a video forecast on this at all since Thursday. I've been away. I mentioned this on the YouTube community post. I mentioned multiple times I'd be away for at least a few days. I've been gone since Thursday. I'm back for at least right now. I'm not in my normal setup. I'll be back in my normal setup tomorrow, but this is, I'm at least going to give you an idea of what's going to be happening here over the next several hours, because Hurricane Hillary, or excuse me, Tropical Storm Hillary is not far away from landfall right now. It's just south of California. It is a tropical storm, really good circulation, a ton of rainfall, and this is going to produce the threat of even a few tornadoes, in addition of some excessive rainfall that could lead to some catastrophic flash flooding. So I'm going to give you an idea of everything that you need to expect here over the next several hours in just a moment. Before I do that, I just want to make sure, guys, does it sound too echoey? Just let me know in the chat. I just need to make sure, because I can probably adjust the settings a little bit, but let me know if it's too echoey or anything like that. But then I'll go to my forecast here in just a second. I just want to make sure everything's running right, because again, this is a completely different setup. It is very echoey for me. I don't know if it is for you guys, so just let me know. All right, audio is good. By the way, I hope everybody's been having a fantastic weekend, and as well as the late week. Again, I have not had a video since Wednesday, actually. I didn't even have a video on Thursday, so I do appreciate everybody with your patience. Obviously, it has been a very busy weekend. I've been away the entire weekend. I have really not been looking at the weather a whole lot, other than Hurricane Hillary in the tropics. That's where all the activity's been, by the way. It's not just Hurricane Hillary, or Tropical Storm Hillary now, but we have another, like, 4 or 5 areas of development back over in the Atlantic Ocean. There is currently Tropical Storm Emily that's going to be going up to sea. That's not really concerning right now. We have another area of development back over in the Eastern Atlantic that is also not concerning to the United States. This is a bit more concerning, primarily to the Antilles, and this area here will likely become at least a tropical storm, perhaps a hurricane, but this will likely go out to sea as well. It's probably not going to impact the United States. Here's a better arrow. So it'll be going back up that direction, probably toward Bermuda as we go into the later week. And then we have another area of development in the Gulf of Mexico. That'll bring some nice rainfall to parts of even southern Texas, but other than that, it's not going to really make a whole lot of impacts to the United States. It will likely not become anything past a tropical storm. So I just want to throw that out there. All right, let's talk a little bit more about Hillary, though, real quickly. I just want to make sure everything's good. All right, sound is fine. Cool. Again, I'm just going to kind of work with what we got. So here we go. All right, so as of right now, again, we do have Tropical Storm Hillary. This was at one point a Category 4 hurricane. Very intense tropical storm, still producing winds around 65 miles per hour as of the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. And that's, again, still pretty hefty. 65-mile-per-hour winds. The eye of where this storm is right now is right over here near San Quintin, if I'm saying the name right. Again, this is kind of on the Mexican panhandle here, the Mexico peninsula. This is where we're at. So this is going to be your peninsula going down here. It's a little bit faded out because we only have the United States borders on, but that's where we're at right now. That's where currently the eye is over. One thing that's really critical with what we have is that the water temperatures are much colder across parts of the eastern and northeastern Pacific Ocean, and that's very important to this because with these cooler ocean waters, this is going to weaken out much quicker. But one thing that you might not have seen is that there are warmer waters here in parts of the peninsula, basically going to go into the bay here in Mexico, and this bay is actually warmer waters. Now, as this continues to drift a little bit more off to the north and west, as it drifts a little bit further to the west, this is overall going to probably weaken more, and that means once this tropical storm does arrive to California, it will be much weaker. But the top wind gusts right now are 85 miles per hour. This is moving north-northwest pretty quickly still, and as of right now, the minimum pressure is at 988 millibars, which for reference, that is a pretty typical range here for a tropical storm, maybe even just a little bit low here for this tropical storm. A lot of tropical storm warnings in effect for parts of Southern California. Again, there are a lot of storm chasers in this area, a lot of people watching this event very closely, and the main reason why is because of this excessive rainfall. It's not because of what we're seeing out of the particular winds, because the winds overall are not going to be the biggest concern by any means. It's going to be the excessive rainfall, because we're going to see several inches of rain in a really tough terrain area. There's a lot of mountains, and that can cause a lot more concern here when we have rain coming down. That rain's going to go down the mountains, potentially potentially producing mudslides, and things get very scary from there because, again, excessive rainfall like this can be very catastrophic in some areas. But we are also watching for a severe weather threat. There's a lot of different things that are going to be going on with this event, so again, we're going to kind of give you a breakdown on all of that. Here's the live radar feed as of right now. Let me just go ahead and see if we can get to a slightly higher elevation. It might be a little bit difficult. Let's see. I think this will be, yeah, here's a much better view of it. So this is what we're looking at right now on the live radar feed here across parts of Southern California. We already have a severe thunderstorm warning. This is the first one of the day, at least from what I know. This does have a tornado possible label on it, so this does mean there's at least some rotation. And there is a tornado threat today, by the way. It's not a zero tornado threat. We definitely have a tornado risk with these outer bands that we're seeing, and this is the first one so far. As of right now, there's not really a whole lot of rotation that you can see on the radar, but this is kind of a little bit of a look. It's going to be embedded in the area of storms here. I'll kind of outline it here, but it's going to be embedded in this area of storms here. That is where there's a little bit of rotation, but the bigger concern will be the damaging wind threat out of these storms up to 60 miles per hour. Now, damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour, that's not going to, blow over a home by any means, but it will knock over some trees and as well as potentially power lines, and that's definitely a concern with these winds. But the highest of the wind speeds will be associated with the eye of the storm, which is still nowhere near California. It is still about 3 hours out. It's expected to make more of a, at least, appearance over parts of Southern California, so the eye should be here at approximately 3 hours or so, somewhere closer to about 2 to 5 o'clock. That's the range that it's expected. This is when it's supposed to be at 5 o'clock. It's supposed to be just east of Los Angeles for that eye, and this will be producing the threat of at least some damaging winds up to 65 miles per hour in terms of the wind gusts, and it will also be having a pressure probably somewhere around 992, somewhere in that range, maybe 995. So it'll be obviously weakening as it moves to the north with cooler waters and as well as going over land. That can very well weaken out a system very easily. Notice we already have flash flood warnings in effect for Los Angeles. That is going to ramp up very quickly. And this is the live radar feed. There's already rain right now in Los Angeles, and this is a huge concern for today is the rainfall. We might not be near the eye of the storm, but we are seeing all these outer bands rising to the north and tons of moisture, and this is going to create the setup of really dangerous conditions with all the rainfall that we're going to see. Look at this on the satellite imagery. All this activity here is just rain lifting to the north, tons of moisture. I can pull up the water vapor imagery. Let's go and see if I can pull up that, and you'll be able to see just how much moisture is currently available for this. Here's the upper level water vapor. Let's go to the lower level water vapor. So you'll see here, look at all this dry air out to the west, but here is your tropical storm down here. We have tons of moisture, tons of water vapor, all available right now in Southern California, and this is creating the scenario here for basically a once-in-a-lifetime type of storm. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing this once-in-a-lifetime type of storm where we're seeing a year's worth of rainfall falling in only a day or two here across parts of Southern California. And again, this is a pretty rare event. I know a lot of people have been saying, this isn't very rare. They've seen tropical storms before and such, but this in particular is a pretty rare event because of how much moisture it has, how much rain there is, and the heat dome that's sitting back over in the central and eastern, or really the central plains back into the Midwest. I've been talking about it a ton on our forecast throughout the week. That heat dome is actually coming into play here because what we're seeing, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, you won't be able to see the entire United States, but this heat dome is creating a jet stream that is lifting all this moisture, even in the upper levels, to the north, and that is why all this rain is pulling out that direction, is because of this jet stream that's in the upper levels. It's a very strong jet stream. The heat dome's way over here now, and that heat dome is actually making that circular motion to be able to create this potential here for very hefty rainfall over the next several hours. So obviously that is a huge concern for these parts of the United States, especially again for Southern California, parts of Western Arizona, and even Southern Nevada, by the way. You do have a chance for at least some flash flooding here over the next little while. Let's see if I can pull up the infrared imagery as well. I'm going to see, here we go. So here's the infrared imagery as of right now, and this is another pretty interesting tool to use. It'll give you an idea of how high the cloud tops are, and usually when you see more of this red color, that's going to indicate heavier rainfall. So the heaviest of the rain right now is pretty much falling in parts of Southern California and Western Arizona, and that is obviously going to basically accumulate into several inches of rain. I'm going to show you how much rainfall is expected here in just a moment, but that is definitely a big concern here as this all moves off to the north. We're going to see very heavy rainfall, and you can see the spin here on the infrared imagery. Actually, the spin looks to be maybe a little bit north of the San Quintin area, so there might be a little bit more of that, the tropical storm might actually be a bit further to the north now. And again, this is the 1 p.m. update, so it was about an hour ago, so just kind of for perspective there. All right, let's talk a little bit more about what to expect over the next several hours, give you an idea of when this rain will be arriving to your location, how much rain to expect, and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to go back to the older run. This will give you a better idea of what we're expecting. So this is this morning, so at 8 a.m. We're going to go to about right now. This is going to be in Central Time, so I'm going to go to Pacific time here. This is 3 o'clock. Central time. So this is basically about right now, if not in about an hour. So this is what we're looking at around about an hour from now. Looking at the amount of rainfall that we're looking at. So again, all this band of heavy rain will be lifting off to the north. Again, that's with those strong winds aloft. That is going to be pulling all this water vapor from south to north, and that's going to lead to a lot of hefty rainfall, leading to several inches of rain. In addition, not just several inches of rain, this could lead to some mudslides and some catastrophic flooding. So very concerning stuff there as this all continues to move off to the north. But where the catastrophic flooding is more likely to happen is across parts of Southern California. This is where our excessive rainfall outlook has been at a high risk for the last several days, and this is where we're going to be watching for the threat of some catastrophic flooding throughout the day today and as well as into the morning hours tomorrow. This is going closer to around 2 or 3 o'clock in Pacific time. Notice all the rain that's going to be falling by then. A lot of rainfall near Los Angeles, all moving off to the north, and eventually going past 6, 7 o'clock tonight. Look at all this rainfall. It's still falling, especially near the Los Angeles area where flash flood warnings have already been issued, and they're likely to go for the next several hours as this all moves off to the north. And one other critical part is that we're not going to be done with rain anytime soon. This is going to continue throughout the late evening and as well as into the overnight hours. I notice there will be some showers and storms back over in Arizona. This will be moving north, and with that shower and storm activity, there could be some isolated flash flooding back over in central Arizona, which they desperately need rainfall, by the way, but not to this amount. This is right around 11 o'clock tonight Pacific time. Notice the rainfall becomes lighter, so notice all the greens on this radar. We're not going to be seeing nearly as much heavy rainfall after midnight tonight. It'll be much lighter, but even the light to maybe even some moderate bands of rain could still lead to additional inches of rainfall, leading to maybe even more flooding in some areas. So you want to be watching the weather very closely today if you're anywhere in Southern California, anywhere in Southern Nevada, and as well as Western Arizona, because those areas are most at risk today for the excessive rainfall. And this is going into the overnight hours. Notice all that rain moves off to the north. We are still watching for some bands of rain tomorrow morning in parts of Los Angeles, but this will be much more isolated in nature. Obviously, you do not need more rainfall with what we've already seen and what is to come, but we are going to be still watching for at least a little bit of rainfall going into tomorrow morning. This is the excessive rainfall outlook, by the way, for today. Notice there is a high risk for flash flooding. Let me take off the tropical forecast here real quick so you got an idea of what we're looking at. So here's your high risk of excessive rainfall today. This is going to be across areas west of Las Vegas, back north and east of Los Angeles, and this is where the biggest concern is today for excessive rainfall, meaning that there's going to be a chance for flooding, and this was where we're going to be watching as well for potentially 4 to 6 inches of rain, maybe even more than that. So make sure you're staying weather aware, especially if you're in here, but even if you're in the moderate or slight risk, which this is your moderate risk, it's that red shaded area. Here's your slight risk back out to the west near Bakersfield. This is an area that we also have to watch for at least scattered to maybe even numerous areas of flooding out of these areas of storms. So make sure you have multiple ways to receive alerts today, and make sure you have somewhere to go for higher ground in case you are under some sort of flash flood warning. We already have multiple on the map already. One east of Bakersfield in Los Angeles, Santa Clara, and as well as back over in the very southern part there of California, east of San Diego. We have another flash flood warning there, and this is all going to ramp up again over the next several hours. So again, this is a very large area for today. Once we go into tomorrow, things do get a little bit quieter. Slight risk across the board from parts of Nevada back into Montana. And again, we have this jet stream pattern that's allowing for all this water vapor to lift to the north, leading to excessive rainfall in many areas. And then as we go into the following day, we're not going to be looking at nearly as much rainfall. So going into Tuesday, things will be a little bit quieter, especially for parts of Southern California. And then the heat will obviously return. Now, how much rainfall are we actually going to see out of this? Let's go through the HRR model and show you what are we actually talking about in terms of rainfall. Let me pull up the computer model here and put on the rainfall estimates for today. And we'll kind of go town by town to give you an idea of what we're looking at. So this is freezing rain. We're not going to be seeing freezing rain today. Here's total precipitation. So this is what we're looking at in terms of the precipitation amounts today. This also includes what we've seen over the past 5 to 6 hours. So just keep that in mind. We're going to go to we're just going to go through the entire thing so you get an idea what we're looking at. So this is the estimate right now from the HRR model in terms of the heaviest rainfall. Just for some reason, I wanted to go back. There we go. But this is what we're looking at. So notice the red and pink areas. Those are where we're watching for the heaviest rainfall. Not everybody will see significant rainfall, but many people will. So let's kind of take you a little bit town by town. So back in Southern California, notice these areas back over near El Centro and east of San Diego. Potential for 4 to 6 inches of rain does exist. Isolated amounts near 8 inches are definitely possible. So make sure you have a plan in place in case you are under a flash flood warning, which again, 2 areas are already under flash flood warnings. That does not necessarily mean you have to go to higher ground now, but be prepared to, because there will be a chance for some significant flash flooding throughout the day today. Notice as the further east you go, the rainfall totals get much lesser, back down maybe near 1/10 of an inch of rain. It's not gonna be a whole lot. That's because all the water vapor that we're seeing is really on the western and northern side of this tropical storm. So that's all currently happening across areas near Los Angeles. Look how much rain is currently forecasted to fall near Los Angeles, somewhere between 4 to 8 inches. There is a chance for isolated spots picking up 10 to 12 inches of rainfall. And even this spot right here, you can see the HR model picking up on a 13-inch reading. Again, not everybody's going to see 13 inches of rain, but there will be a chance for a very isolated location to see 13 to maybe even 14 inches of rainfall. Further north you go, this rain just does continue because of all the water vapor we have. Look at these rainfall totals, 4, 6, 8 inches of rainfall. That is very significant, obviously, across these areas. And this spans all the way back through Nevada. And again, all this water vapor will continue to move off to the north and really sit here over the next several hours. So that's going to really cause a lot of concern with all the moisture that's lifting off to the north. And we're going to be continuing to see really high rainfall totals. But again, widespread, we're talking about at least 3 to 6 inches of rain. So you're pretty much almost guaranteed, if you're anywhere in that higher moderate risk of excessive rainfall, you're almost guaranteed at least 2 to 3 inches of rain. But many areas will see upwards of 6 inches of rain. Some areas, meaning more isolated than anything else, will see somewhere between 7 to 10 inches of rainfall. Los Angeles, you're definitely on that potential there for that threat. Even maybe a couple areas getting past 10 inches of rainfall is not out of the question. So you definitely want to make sure, again, that you're weather aware today, having multiple ways to receive alerts, and that can include a weather radio, cell phone, all that sort of stuff. Another thing that you should make sure you do is make sure you have flashlights on hand. Have any batteries, or make sure you plug in your phones, make sure that's all charged up for today, because if you do end up losing power, you're going to want to make sure you do have a way to receive alerts, because again, this rain will continue to fall throughout the day today. That could even knock out power before the wind does, but if not, wind could also drive the threat for some power outages as well, because again, the wind out of this system right now is around 70 miles per hour to 80 miles per hour for wind gusts. The actual wind speeds are 65, but we usually go off wind gusts, which wind gusts are peaking at 85 miles per hour in the center right now. Once this gets to California, it should be a little bit weaker by then, but it is still definitely very concerning as this all does move off to the north and north-northwest. It's basically going north-northwest right now, so that's what we're looking at. Here's the current wind field as well right now. So right now we're looking at the tropical storm force winds to primarily be in this green shaded area. So we are already seeing tropical storm force winds in Southern California, and this is obviously going to continue to lift to the north over the next several hours. So we're definitely going to be seeing tropical storm force winds further to the north as we go throughout the afternoon. They very well could actually be up to here now, just due to the fact this was our 2 p.m. update Eastern time, so about an hour ago in Pacific time. And also, this is the area that we're looking at right now for 57 to 73 mile per hour winds right now. So that's obviously the more concerning area for high winds, but there will be a chance with some of these outer bands for even some of the storm activity that you might see here to produce that damaging wind threat as this all moves off to the north. Look at this near El Centro and Brawley, and as well as going off toward the Slab City area. This heavy rainfall will lead to the threat or not just the heavy rain, but also the wind will be able to produce out of these types of storms, which these are thunderstorms right now. So that's definitely going to be a concern here over the next little while. Let me just take off the wind field here. I think I can actually put on the forecast wind field, so let's see if we can go and do that as well. This might give you a little bit better idea of a long term. Actually, this is a little bit better of a view here. So this is the probability of basically tropical storm force winds over the next basically 6, 12, 18 hours. And this is what we're looking at for the highest potential there of rainfall. Let me take off the live radar. One moment. All right, there we go. So this is your probabilities here across the board in terms of what to expect for rainfall, or excuse me, in terms of high winds. And so anywhere in this brightest area of red here, or really, it's not really even brighter red, but it's more of like dark red color. This is where you basically have a 90% greater chance of damaging winds exceeding, or excuse me, gusty winds exceeding 40 miles per hour. So if you're anywhere in this area, you have the better chance. If you're back over near Los Angeles, it's a 50-50 chance you actually see tropical storm force winds, but you're definitely gonna be watching for more excessive rainfall. So if you're back over in Los Angeles, or even San Diego, you have a better chance of seeing tropical storm force winds. But if you're over in Los Angeles or the outskirts, you have a lower chance of high winds, but you definitely have a higher chance for flash flooding due to all the water vapor with this system. But this is kind of an interesting graphic that I just found on here. So this at least gives you an idea of where the highest probability is for the tropical storm force winds. And I'll zoom out just a little bit here so you have a better idea of what we're looking at. Let me go ahead and pull up a different one. I believe we can actually go to 50-mile-per-hour winds on this as well. So here's your 50 knots. So this will be about basically 57 miles per hour or greater. We're not really looking at a whole lot of winds exceeding 60 miles per hour across this area. It would mainly come out of like a severe storm, but at the top of your screen here, just south and east of Los Angeles, there's a low chance of maybe some winds getting upwards of 60 miles per hour due to the tropical storm. Now, there will be a chance with those storms, again, could produce some damaging winds exceeding 60 miles per hour. So that's what we're looking at in terms of that. But a couple of just interesting little things that I found there. Hurricane hunters as well went into the storm not too long ago, and I don't think they're going back into it. I think the last one just happened. I could be mistaken on that. Somebody can correct me, but that's what we're now looking at. Let's go and pull up the satellite imagery. I'll be answering questions, so if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the chat. Let's go and pull up the satellite imagery. And again, this is what Tropical Storm Hillary currently looks like, moving again across the Mexico Peninsula, and again near the bay, moving to the north-northwest. It'll be making an appearance near San Diego in approximately 2 to 3 hours. So that is what's currently expected. I believe my face cam just went off, so give me 1 second. Again, this is a very... oh, that's great. All right, let me go ahead and do this real quick. There's going to be some issues because of how... I'm in a new setup. One moment, please. There we go. All right, so again, if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the chat. And again, we are in a different setup, so I mentioned this at the very beginning, but we're in a completely different setup. Lighting is obviously really bad. Again, I was on vacation since Thursday. I've been on vacation since Thursday. I haven't had any videos on this. I do apologize again. But overall, again, it's been very busy for me. I've had no time to be able to make any setup here. I don't even have lights on me, so I have to go get those. But that'll all be coming pretty soon. Again, I'll be back in my normal setup tomorrow. So, but for right now, this is just kind of a temporary setup. Thank you, Cindy, for the $2 super chat. Will San Jose be affected? I don't know where San Jose is. I'm not going to lie. So give me 1 second. I've been to California once in my life, so bear with me. I know where San Francisco is. I know where San Diego and Los Angeles are. I know where the main cities are, but oh, San Jose is just south of San Francisco. Not really. I mean, if you're in San Jose, I'm not really that concerned, to be honest for you. I'm not anticipating anything out of the ordinary by any means either. I'm really kind of expecting more of just some scattered showers, maybe some gusty winds, but nothing out of the ordinary for you. All right, let me zoom out again. Again, this is a better look right now at Tropical Storm Hillary. Can I show the base velocity? Yeah, let's go zoom into this, and I'll see if it should show a better view of this storm. I was using the high-res velocity. This is the base velocity. Actually, not showing much of anything here either. It's kind of hard to see. But any of the rotation with this would likely be associated in this area, again, southeast of Brawley. And actually, Vince Waelti is not far from there, but Vince Waelti will be probably going down that way here pretty soon. But yeah, these storms here near Brawley, for example, they'll have a better chance of producing the threat of maybe an isolated tornado as it moves off to the north. No problem, Bob. By the way, I have a water bottle. That's how low-key the setup is today. Again, I wanted to go live for this because I've not made a video or gone live in multiple days. So, and obviously, this is a pretty big event. Unfortunately, I timed the vacation very poorly. Yeah, anywhere in San Francisco, I'm not too concerned about the San Francisco area. Things should be okay there. It's, again, just gonna be a little bit of rainfall, maybe a little bit of an increase of the waves if you're going to the beach, but otherwise, we're not looking at anything too out of the ordinary there. It should be okay if you're over there. But again, if you're in like Los Angeles, San Diego, those areas, like El Centro as well, back down in Southern California, you definitely have to be on alert because excessive rainfall is very likely and high winds are possible, especially in Southern California. Los Angeles, probably not looking at high winds, but all this water vapor, I already showed you this, but this is a very good view of what we're looking at. Let's go back to the satellite imagery, and let me put on the water vapor. This is really the best view that you'll have of what we're actually looking at here in terms of why we're seeing so much rain is because of these upper level winds being so strong. We have all this water vapor lifting to the north that's leading to more rainfall, higher dew points, obviously going to create more rainfall as well, and this is really the biggest concern. Anywhere in this area, that is where we have an increased amount of water vapor Again, that extends all the way through Montana and even southern Canada, and it also goes through areas like Los Angeles. San Francisco still has dry hair overhead, but that'll obviously change. You'll at least see some scattered showers maybe tonight into tomorrow morning. Again, nothing too crazy there overall. And all this is dry air, by the way, so all this orange that you're seeing, that's all dry air, which is nice and friendly if you are not looking forward to rainfall, but unfortunately, not a whole lot of areas are in that anymore in parts of California. San Francisco, though, San Jose, I'm not too concerned about those areas. Fresno, Bakersfield, Los Angeles, San Diego, back through Southern California, Southern Nevada are really the biggest concerns for tonight, and as well as throughout the rest of today into tomorrow morning. That's where the greatest concern is for excessive rainfall and perhaps, again, some high winds. But the highest wind potential will be really over the next few hours, and that's going to be primarily in Southern California and back through the Mexico Peninsula. Thank you, Zone. Appreciate it. I got a new haircut over the weekend, or actually early, or it's more like midweek. It's just after Wednesday. Thank you, Lynn, for becoming a minimum velocity member. I appreciate it. Welcome to Velocities. Thank you. The rain will help replenish lakes, but the problem is we don't need excessive rainfall because that can definitely damage dams if we get too much rainfall in too little amount of time. It can definitely cause some issues in that regard. And having too much rainfall just in general, what we're seeing right now with this excessive rainfall, and this is where, by the way, the highest water vapor content is right now across southern parts of California and western Arizona, but having too much rainfall will cause really more harm than good, if you know what I mean. So there's a lot more negative to having all this rainfall that we're about to see in comparison to having, little amounts of rainfall. So, for example, if you're back over in Texas and there's like a couple of passing showers, that's definitely beneficial for lakes and people. But if you're seeing 8 inches of rain in one day, which we actually saw last summer, by the way, in Dallas, there was like 14 inches of rain one day, all in one event. We had no rain for months. That can be very catastrophic, and that's what we're looking at here with how dry the soil is. The soil's not used to it, so it causes a lot of issues in that regard. But it obviously will help the lakes out and being able to have clean access to water and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, unfortunately, if you're anywhere in Southern California, it's really concerning. I know a lot of people are scared about this entire thing. Best thing to do is just make sure you're prepared. Again, this is the estimate on rainfall from the HRR model. It's just an estimate. Again, this is not by any means a complete science. It does not mean this is definitely going to happen. It's just a projection of what to see for later today, which is pretty accurate overall. I do think overall for Southern California, we're talking at least a widespread 2 to 4 inches of rainfall. That's at least what I'm thinking for Southern California. The exception would primarily be back over here near like Parker, Blythe, really on the border. A little bit of a lower chance. But if you're back near Los Angeles, San Diego, and El Central, those areas have a much higher chance of at least seeing a widespread 2 to 4 inches of rain. But some isolated locations, for example, again, this is what it's showing, upwards of maybe pockets of 6 to 10 inches of rainfall. And if you see that can be very concerning. But Los Angeles widespread right now, at least going to see 2 to 4 inches of rainfall. I expect a little bit more than that, to be honest with you, for those in Los Angeles. It very well could go higher than 4 inches, especially on the northern side where the mountains are and whatnot. The mountains are obviously very concerning because that could cause mudslides. All the water comes off the mountains. It causes chaos. But that would be obviously the worst case scenario, seeing all this rainfall there. But here, like Ontario, Riverside, anywhere in the suburbs, at least a widespread 2 to 4 inches today, which wouldn't be catastrophic, but having more than that could very well get to the point where it is very dangerous to potentially catastrophic down the road. And again, there are already flash flood warnings here. It looks like as of right now, rainfall rates around 1 inch per hour will be common. That's kind of a given. Additional rainfall amounts in Los Angeles of 1 to 3 inches are possible. So far, there's at least been around an inch of rain already in Los Angeles. So obviously that is going to continue to ramp up over the next several hours. But where you see those red colors and the pink colors, that is where at least where the HR model is placing the heaviest of the rainfall. And that will continue, by the way, all the way through parts of eastern California and to parts of even southern and western Nevada, which will cause concern over there as well. It's still hours from San Diego, so is this blown out of proportion? It's not blown out of proportion by any means. I mean, San Diego's already seeing rainfall right now. This is the live radar. It's going to kind of cut out a little bit because of all the mountains, but this is what we're looking at in terms of rainfall. There's already rain in San Diego. And again, if you don't see high winds, that does not mean anything. I'm telling you. I mean, if you see 20 mile per hour winds, 10 mile per hour winds, whatever it might be, the main threat out of this tropical storm isn't the wind, it's the rainfall. The rainfall is going to cause serious issues if you see too much of it. So if you see 4, 6, 8 inches of rain, that could cause flooding and obviously cause a lot of issues in terms of catastrophic damage to some areas. Again, not everybody will see catastrophic damage. It will hopefully stay isolated, but obviously there is a high risk of flash flooding in parts of Southern California. But with that being said, rainfall is the main concern. Even if you're not seeing wind yet, the tropical storm itself is still way down here. It's located right about here now, so it's north of San Quentin. It's going to be going towards San Diego over the next several hours, but the heaviest of the rainfall is likely to occur closer to Los Angeles, and that's where, again, the greatest concern is really anywhere across parts of Southern California where all the terrain is, where all the mountains are, and then back over near Los Angeles, there's also some concern. In addition to San Diego, definitely be weather aware. And again, if you're anywhere in southern parts of California, make sure you stay weather aware today, because the rainfall will definitely be the biggest concern for today. And actually, I might be able to pull up the precipitation forecast here. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure how far this actually goes out. Let's see what this does. It actually might show you a bit more of the precipitation forecast. This is a forecast through, this is just generated. So this is a forecast as well. From the NDFD, and you can kind of see again the heaviest rainfall totals likely to occur parts of Southern California as well as near the Los Angeles area. And if we go back over to here, I'm just going to show you the live radar, but I'm going to go and pull you up the excessive rainfall outlook for today. And this is what we're looking at in terms of where the heaviest of the rainfall will happen and where the greatest potential is for that flooding threat. It's definitely in this pink shaded area, so west of Los Angeles near Route 95, near Interstate 15, and as well as near Interstate 40, going back through southern and parts of even southwestern California near Los Angeles. That pink area there is your high risk for excessive rainfall. That's where the greatest chances of excessive rainfall, meaning that we could very well see the potential for some catastrophic flash flooding. That's where the greatest chance of that is. In that red shaded area, that is where we're also looking for the threat of maybe some isolated catastrophic flooding, but not everybody, again, will see it, and most of us hopefully will not see that, but those that are in that area have a much better chance of seeing some excessive rainfall, meaning that there will be several inches of rainfall leading to at least some minor to moderate flooding. There very well, again, could be some more major flooding in a couple of isolated locations. Los Angeles, Santa Clara, back through Long Beach, and into San Diego are all included in that red shaded area, which means, again, you're in that moderate risk of flash flooding. That yellow shaded area is your slight risk. It's a much lower chance of catastrophic flooding, but there will at least be some minor to moderate flooding in those areas. So back near Phoenix, Flagstaff, and back into parts of northern Nevada and into southern and western Montana. Again, this goes very far off to the north, all because, again, of the jet stream and all the water vapor being pulled up to the north because of the jet stream, but we're also watching for the threat back up into southwestern parts of Montana. So the threat goes very far off to the north in terms of the excessive rainfall, but the greatest threat of that for today will be, again, across parts of southern Nevada and back into parts of California. Primarily in Southern California is where the greatest risk is of that. The radar might not look too impressive, but again, it kind of interacts with the mountains, which makes it hard to actually get a good radar sight on this, but this is what we're looking at right now. Near Los Angeles, again, a lot of the rain right now is light to moderate, but it adds up over time. I mean, we're not going to see 10 inches, or we're not going to see like 3 inches of rainfall. Let's be realistic. 3 inches of rainfall in 1 hour. We're not going to just see that out of one of these bands. It's very unlikely with this sort of environment, but we will see between 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches of rainfall per hour. That's currently what we're watching for. And if you see rain in Los Angeles, for example, let's say over 10 hours, which is entirely possible, by the way, and it's 1/2 inch of rain per hour, which is probably what's happening right now, we're probably going to see around 5 inches of rain, which is, again, very concerning. 5 inches of rainfall can very well add up very quickly, and that can lead to at least some flooding. Whether that's minor to moderate flooding, kind of depends on where you are. If you're in a low-lying area, that's more concerning. If you're on like a mountain or hill, mudslides are possible. That's obviously very concerning. But yeah, again, that's what we're kind of looking at again for today. Again, my face cam unplugged. I have to reset this once again. I do apologize. Again, this is a very interesting setup done. One moment. Friendly reminder, by the way, if you're just tuning in, make sure to hit the like button down below, subscribe as well if you're new here. Again, we'll be live here for quite a while. If you have any questions, anything like that, feel free to leave those in the chat. And again, we're in a completely different setup from normal. This is not my normal setup. I don't look this bad. Again, I don't have any lighting today, and I also do not have the normal studio I'm in. I'll be back in the normal studio by tomorrow. So just want to remind you of that. All right, let's see if we have any other questions. How's everybody doing, by the way? Welcome on in. Hope everybody's staying safe. Again, this is a pretty historical event today that we're seeing, and I mentioned at the top of this, but You know, this is a once in a lifetime type of storm that we're seeing. This stuff doesn't happen very often, and the reason why we're seeing this being, you know, as strong as it is in terms of a tropical storm and how strong the tropical storm is. Again, if you look at Tropical Storm Hillary, as of the 2 p.m. Central or 1 p.m. Eastern update from the National Hurricane Centers and the National Hurricane Center, this is what we're looking at in terms of the wind gusts and speed. So 85-mile-per-hour wind gusts, that's well up there, as well as the wind speeds being at 65 miles per hour, which this is how the category of a tropical storm or hurricane gets determined. So 65-mile-per-hour winds is a more moderate to strong type of tropical storm, but as this gets closer to San Diego, this will definitely be weakening much more. It'll be more of a moderate to maybe even a bit more of a low-end tropical storm by that point, but regardless of its intensity in terms of wind speeds, this is producing a excessive amount of rainfall, which is really the main reason why this is so concerning and why this is a quote-unquote once-in-a-lifetime type of storm, is because of how much rainfall is going to be coming out of this entire event. I got a high fade for my haircut, and this is more of a different kind of high fade I got. I got like a weird line on the side of my head. You might see it. I don't know. My barber did it. I was like, all right, cool. I don't know. I just kind of let her do whatever. Thanks, Lynn. Appreciate you tuning in. Again, appreciate you becoming a Velocity member. By the way, if you have any photos, any videos of what you're seeing outside and you're in Southern California, feel free to send those in to us on our Twitter page at MaxVelocityWX. There is a link to that in the description below. So if you would like to send in any photos, any videos, and feel free to send that all in to our Twitter page. This is, by the way, the satellite imagery. I've showed this a few times, but this is where it is right now in terms of the eye of the storm. For perspective, it's kind of getting hidden in here. Again, the storm itself is going to be weakening, so you're not going to really see the eye as well. It's actually a little further to the north now. It's probably up in here a little bit more. So basically west of San Felipe, again, south of South California. This is back over in the Mexico Peninsula, so this is going to be, I believe it's called the Baja Peninsula. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not the best with Mexico geography, or really geography worldwide. I'm really good at geography across the United States, but this is a little bit more difficult for me. But basically, just south of San Diego, by about, let's kind of measure this. I think we can get a good measurement on this, but this is the eye of it right now is about 130 miles to the south, approximately. Might be a little bit less or more, again, give or take probably about 20 miles, but that's at least what we're looking at in terms of its area. But again, this is moving off to the north-northwest at 25 miles per hour. So if you do the math on that, 130 divided by 25, this will be making an appearance right over San Diego, probably in about 4 to 5 hours. That'd be a good ETA. It's probably about 125 miles away, so give or take about 4 to 5, maybe 6 hours. Just say 5 hours, give or take an hour. So what we're seeing out of California right now is really not going to be impacting the rest of the United States, really in much of any way, unless you're on the West Coast. If you're back over in the Central Plains, anywhere in the Great Plains, really not a whole lot is going to come out of this. We have a massive heat dome that's sitting over here, which is why we're seeing this system going to the north, and that's why we're seeing this disturbance in the Gulf of Mexico going to the west, is because this is doing a clockwise spin, this upper level ridge, and that's going to continue to steer this to the north, and then this again to the west. Which that Gulf of Mexico disturbance, as of right now, is not a tropical storm, not a tropical depression. Has a chance to, the National Hurricane Center, keeping it, actually has increased to a 60% chance over the last hour. So that is going to potentially develop into a tropical storm, probably more of a tropical depression, maybe a weak tropical storm as it crashes into southern Texas, bring a lot of beneficial rainfall. But this in particular is going to probably stay off to the north. It might impact Canada, but it's not really going to impact parts of you know, the Great Plains or really anywhere else, to be honest with you. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people need rain, and some people, like Southern California, they need rain, but not this much rain. So it's really, there's no balance to this sort of system. It's definitely a very intense cyclone that we're seeing that's going to be moving into California over the next several hours. Again, there are tropical storm warnings in effect for Southern California. Again, that's never, I don't think that's ever happened before. So that's, again, another rarity to this entire thing. It's a pretty rare storm, again, quote-unquote, once-in-a-lifetime type of storm, because of how much rainfall it's bringing, not necessarily because of the wind, but the rainfall and obviously tropical storm warnings, definitely a bit more of a rarity with this sort of event. All right, let me go over here real quick. All right. Yeah, there's some serious fires in Canada too, and this rain should help a little bit. I mean, this is gonna be going off to the north. Let's go to the water vapor imagery. Here's your water vapor imagery. So again, I can't get the entire United States because I'm doing Northeast Pacific, but this is the entire United States. Actually, we'll keep it on this probably, but this is a better view of it. So you can see all the water vapor circulating around this ridge. Let's go to the black color here. So this is the water vapor that's all circulating around this ridge. All this orange and yellow that you're seeing, that is all dry air. So that overall is where we're seeing the ridge in place. That's where the excessive heat's happening. That is where the drought is continuing, and this is not moving anytime soon. So this rainfall and all this water vapor will continue to move to the north. It'll eventually move north and east, or more east than north, as it moves through the northern plains, and that could actually bring some rainfall maybe to the Midwest, but it would be more of the upper Midwest. So that's really what's happening over the next several hours if you're back over in those areas. But this rainfall, as it continues to move to the north, is all going to continue to bring more and more rain to areas that actually kind of need it right now. I mean, areas even back over on the western tier of the United States, many areas are in a drought, but the drought is obviously a much more significant in parts of like Texas, for example, where it's been getting much worse because there hasn't been rain recently. But that heat dome is controlling the direction of all of this. So that's where we're looking at, again, more of a widespread sense of things. But the eye of this is going to be located a little bit north now of San Quentin. No wind. Yeah, again, there's not really any wind. Heidi mentioned it in chat again. In Torrance, California. I might not be saying the name right, but in that area, they're not seeing any wind. They're seeing rain, and that is what's concerning about this. Again, it's not necessarily the wind. It's the rain. The only area where the wind is a bit concerning is primarily in Southern California. That's going to be near El Centro and San Diego. That is where we're seeing some higher wind speeds overall that'll come out of this. So in these areas near San Diego and El Centro, that's where we might see some wind gusts getting closer to 70 miles per hour. How's Anaheim looking? Isn't that in San Francisco area? I've gone to Disneyland before, but I have absolutely no clue where Anaheim is. I'm not gonna lie. Might be Los Angeles. I could be wrong. It's been like 4 years since I was last in California. You're LA? Okay, so yeah, if you're in Anaheim, you're still looking at the heavy rainfall. That's the biggest concern. And you could see rainfall totals widespread across that area. It's expected to be between 2 to 4 inches. There is a chance, though, that a few of these areas could exceed 4 inches and get as high as 10 inches of rainfall. Again, rainfall rates around 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches per hour. If you do the math, if you see rain for 10 hours straight, which is possible in some areas near Los Angeles, and if you see like the lower end of that, so 1/2 inch of rain through that time, which is more realistic overall, you'd be probably talking at least around 5 inches of rain. But if it's like 1 inch an hour, like over an average over 10 hours, so you might see like 1/2 inch 1 hour and then 1.5 inches another hour, you're gonna be watching for the potential for upwards of 10 inches of rain. So that's like the concern here. We have that chance of 2 to 4 inches widespread, but it very well could exceed that. We're already seeing some heavier bands of rain near Santa Clara, northwest of Los Angeles primarily. All that yellow that you're seeing here, that is at least moderate rainfall. A couple of these little red specks that you're seeing will indicate heavy rainfall, but there's not a whole lot of that, which means, again, we're not looking at extremely heavy rainfall, and we're not, again, looking at high winds. I know a lot of people are kind of getting misled a little bit, like, we're going to see all the rain in 2 hours. We're not. We're seeing rain over a elongated amount of time, so it's going to be over several hours, which you've already been seeing for several hours now. But near Los Angeles, this rain is going to be coming in batches, and as this continues to move off to the north and west with all this rainfall, it's not going to all drop at once. We're going to see a lot of light rain. You're going to see a lot of intermittent rain, meaning that's not going to happen 24/7, but you're at least looking at rainfall that's going to be on the lighter side of things, and that adds up quickly, especially in low-lying areas, which will lead to that flooding threat in some areas. Again, not everybody will see flooding, but those that do, it'll be definitely more concerning across areas near Los Angeles, especially because there's mountains nearby, and then back over closer to like San Diego and just east of San Diego. These areas near El Centro will have a better chance of excessive rainfall, potentially leading to catastrophic flooding across these terrains where there's a lot more mountains, mudslides possible. Again, there's just a lot of threats to this entire thing. So just make sure you're staying weather aware, have multiple ways to receive alerts. And one other thing I want to mention, I haven't actually mentioned this really at all in this live stream, there is a chance for an isolated tornado today. Just to add to everything that's happening, there is a low-end chance for maybe an isolated tornado or two. That's going to be for those in areas like Los Angeles, Prescott, west of Mesa, back near Yuma, basically southeast parts of California into parts of southern Nevada, western Arizona. This is, I believe, by the way, the first ever 5% tornado risk that has ever been issued in this area. I could be wrong on that. There's at least somewhere in there that's never had a tornado risk at the 5% level, which is, it's still on the lower side of things. I mean, that's like a low to medium threat. This would be considered like low, this would be considered very low. So it's a very isolated threat in terms of tornadoes, but again, another rarity to this entire thing. Again, once in a lifetime type of storm that we're seeing. So that's what we're looking at there. But again, another kind of a rare piece to this entire storm. I don't think this is a tropical depression by any means. Again, the wind speed is what determines if it's a tropical storm or a depression. The difference. It could be a post-tropical cyclone, obviously, but it's a little bit lower of a chance that it's that as of right now, because there's definitely still tropical characteristics to this entire thing. But the eye of it right now is going to be located. I'll try to see if I can pick it out for you. Again, the eye was down here a little while ago. It looks like it's kind of up here now. Maybe a little bit further up to the north. So, yeah, it's right there. If we take off the satellite imagery, there it is. So it's going to be, I should change the color here. Let's do this. Just going to circle it in yellow. So the eye should be right about there now. Again, it's not really much of an eye anymore because it's a tropical storm. Tropical storms usually don't have quote-unquote eyes. They don't usually have a definitive eye, but that is where we would be looking at where the current circulation is at, and that's where the highest wind speeds would be located out of this, which is quite far to the south of San Diego. So that's going to be right along the peninsula here, west of San Felipe. All right. By the way, if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the chat. And if you're just tuning in for the first time, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It's free to do. It's that red button below. And like the stream as well. It does help get this out to more people that need some live coverage for this event. And again, I am currently not in my studio. If you're tuning in and you're a regular viewer, this is not our normal studio. I usually have much better lighting than this. I don't have that, so I just want to, again, throw that out there for those that are just tuning in. The mods might be reminding you of that if you're asking about it, but... And that's where the eye is. Let me go back to we're gonna go back to the satellite imagery. And let's put on the water vapor. Actually, let's see if I can put on anything else here. Not sure if there's anything else I can look at. Infrared imagery. Again, I kind of already showed you the infrared imagery, but when we're looking at these darker red colors, again, that's where the highest cloud tops are, which overall, that's basically what the infrared imagery is measuring, is how cold the cloud tops are. So this is where the coldest of the cloud tops are, is right here. It's going to be across parts of Southern California. And that essentially would be meaning that's where some of the heavier bands of rain are going to be located, would be out of that red area. So we're seeing more oranges near Los Angeles, which means more of light to moderate rain overall in those areas. And let's go to the water vapor. So again, a lot of water vapor still entering into Southern California. We're going to be starting to get to the heaviest bands of rain over the next hour or two. So really the most concerning time frame in terms of the heaviest rain will be over the next couple hours, but don't be mistaken on the most concerning time for the heaviest rain, because there will be rain throughout the rest of this afternoon into the evening hours, and it will continue to accumulate. So even if you see, let's just say 3 inches of rain in the next hour, and then you don't see any rain for maybe an hour after that, you're not done by any means, because there's still a chance for rain after that, and you might see an additional 2 to 3 inches, which could lead to flooding. So again, there's a lot of things that you need to be making sure you're paying attention to. The best thing that you can do today is just stay weather aware all the way through this evening, and then after this evening, still stay weather aware, I would say, into the overnight hours, even though the rain should be much lesser by the way. It should be very isolated to scattered. But if there's any heavy bands or even just heavy downpours more than anything of rain going to the overnight, there is still going to be a chance there for maybe some additional rainfall that could lead to even some more flooding. So just keep that in mind. But this is what it looks like on the water vapor imagery. Again, your eye, I'm going to go and outline it here, but the eye is right here. I'm just going to put an E here. Actually, I'll put a TS just to make it easier. So TS. And that is about where it's located, give or take, again, a little bit of south or north. It's going to be probably a little bit south than there, if anything. What's better, the Weather Channel or Fox Weather Channel? I have absolutely really no opinion on Fox Weather because I've never watched them. Weather Channel's pretty good, though. I kind of like how they present the weather. I wouldn't say this event is hyped up by any means. Again, I'm a very honest person here. I talk about this stuff all the time, and I don't think this is a hyped up storm. Yes, I mean, you know, saying it's a once in a lifetime event. It could be maybe taken as a bit more of a hype stance, but again, nothing like this has ever happened to Southern California. We've seen tropical storms before, but how much rainfall this is bringing is what makes this stand out from a lot of the other things that we've seen here. And the rainfall is what's concerning. It's not the tropical storm aspect. Because again, the water temperatures are always way too cold here in areas near near Los Angeles and San Diego for there to actually be a tropical storm in that area. So we usually don't see them. Usually if there's any sort of stuff coming toward California, it's remnants. And usually with those remnants of like a tropical depression or something like that, they're usually not going to bring tons of rainfall because they're much weaker. But with this, there's just such a surge of water vapor, and that's leading to excessive rainfall. And if you're back over in the Central Plains, you might know that there's not been any rain there in weeks, and there's a heat dome that's sitting over there, and that heat dome is letting the spin to the north, or basically letting this tropical storm going to the north, and that is why this is concerning, because we have all this water vapor coming out of the Pacific Ocean that's leading to this excessive rainfall. So again, I don't think this is hyped up by any means. I think this is a very real threat, especially for this sort of event. Again, we're not really watching for wind out of this. There will be wind, but it's not going to be the main concern. It's more of the flooding threat. If I was to put it on a scale of like low to high threats, let's say that there's low to medium, medium to high, and high. So there's 5 categories. I'd put the wind at like a low to medium threat. That's primarily near the San Diego and El Centro area, so Southern California. And Los Angeles, you'd be on the very low side of that. And then excessive rainfall, it's a high threat for sure if you're back down in Southern California. Los Angeles, it's at least at a medium to high threat. So that's why I put it on the scale anyways. Yeah, water is freezing in California. I've been to California. I've been to a beach before. I was shocked with how cold the water was. It's very cold there. I don't know if I can pull up the water temperatures on here, but if I could, there might be buoy data or something, so I'll have to look. And again, what's pulled up on here is the tornado risk today. 5% chance in a 25-mile radius in the brown shaded area, which is primarily southeast parts of California, and maybe a little sliver there, western Arizona. And then the green shaded area is a 2% probability, so lower chance there. All right, let me see. Not sure if I can pull up marine tools. Buoys. All right, I found buoys. There's actually photos that these things take. That's actually kind of crazy. All right, let's see. Temperature right now, 68 degrees. Down in like the furthest southern point of California. For the perspective, if you go on the same latitude back over in parts of like the Atlantic Ocean, it's probably like almost at least 85 now. So, yeah, again, very cold water temperatures. If you go back up near like San Francisco, it's 62. Again, very, very, very cold, to say the least. Very cold air. Or very cold water, I should say. And, you know, that does not really favor tropical activity very well, especially when we get those types of cold temperatures. We don't have any buoys in the peninsula here, but in the peninsula, the water temperatures are like in the 80s. So that's why this thing is still fueled with the tropical characteristics, is because of that water. It's interacting just a little bit with this, and that's really the main reason why. As it goes up this peninsula, there's a little bit of warmer water there for this thing to survive. And again, don't forget, this is a Category 4 hurricane at one point. So this is the track. Let me pull this up. This was the track of this. Again, this is a Category 4 hurricane all the way back down here, pretty far away, obviously. But it was up to about 135 mile per hour winds at one point. So it was, again, it was a pretty intense Category 4 hurricane. It was nowhere near California, but with how strong it was, it's going to take much longer usually for these things to weaken out, especially since it's still over open water. Now it's kind of hugging the coastline with cooler water temperatures and land, and that will obviously kind of kill the circulation with this thing, and hopefully will weaken it out over time. But it is still definitely still organized to the point where it's definitely going to bring heavy rainfall and maybe some high winds. The center of this is going to be approaching the Tijuana area in San Diego over the next few hours. Again, San Diego, this should be making an appearance right over you in the next 4 to 5 hours. So if you're in San Diego, you got about 4 to 5 hours until this is basically right overhead. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the chat. I'll be answering questions again throughout the live stream. And, yeah, again, that's really the main thing that I'll be doing here for the next little while. If there's any new information, obviously, again, there's a tornado risk today. It's going to be primarily across parts of Southern California. And pretty much where everything's going to be happening today is in Southern California, so near Los Angeles, for example. But Los Angeles, we're not looking at a tornado risk there. It's just a lot of rain, which will lead, again, to the flooding threat. But the tornado risk is a little bit more increased if you're back over in parts of eastern and southeast California, in western Arizona as well. That's also where we're looking at for some heavy rainfall there. Let me see if I can pull off the tornado risk, though, because I do want to go into this wide cam. There we go. And let's go to a different satellite view. We're going to back over to the northeast Pacific Ocean. This is a better view here of what we're looking at here. In the tropics, again, the northeast and eastern parts of the Pacific Ocean, that is where this tropical storm is going, again, going toward Los Angeles. Lots of rainfall already happening. The rain is obviously the main concern. Wind is kind of our secondary concern at this point. There will definitely be surfers out there. I mean, again, the waters I don't think will be too bad. Let me see if I can look at the waves. I think it shows waves on here. Wave height about 3 feet. 7 feet further to the south. Obviously, it's a bit more concerning south down here. 7 foot waves are obviously concerning. But back up here to the north, for example, 3 to foot waves are a little bit up there. Usually 1 to 2 feet is a bit more normal, but this one is 10-foot waves, which is, well, it's well off the coast. But yeah, I mean, surfing is not obviously an issue. The issue today is flooding. So that's the biggest concern, as well as the wind. And that will lead again to the threat of catastrophic flooding in some isolated areas. But the greatest potential for that, again, is in Southern California, especially in here. And then back near Los Angeles, there is at least a chance there for some isolated catastrophic flooding, especially in low-lying areas and near mountains where there will be water going down the mountain. That will cause some concerns there as well. So, and this will be probably a pretty catastrophic event. There's a lot of storm chasers out there today. So we should have a much better view of what we're actually seeing out there with them. And that'll kind of, increase the overall view of what's going to be happening here over the next several hours. Because, yeah, it's going to be a very long day, I'll tell you that. It's going to be a very long day, evening, as well as into tomorrow. And it's definitely going to be very active, unfortunately, as this does make landfall here in Southern California. And the amount of rain is, again, just catastrophic levels potential for today in terms of how much rain's going to fall and the flooding potential. It's going to add up quick, unfortunately. Feel like monsoon season? Yeah, I mean, we're not too far from it. Really ramping up. But again, this is kind of west of those areas, and unfortunately, I mean, really, if it wasn't for this jet stream being so stubborn, because, again, the jet stream's really been the main reason why we're seeing this. Let's go back to the United States here. But this jet stream here is the reason why we're having so many issues. It's because of this jet stream. We have a massive heat dome that's sitting here that is steering this system off to the north. That's actually steering this other tropical disturbance in the Gulf of Mexico to the west toward Texas. And this heat dome is the main reason why we've had so many issues over the last several weeks. That's why there's been, the relentless heat wave. It's bringing extreme heat and even droughts to some areas in the central United States, back through the southeast and the east coast, and then back over in parts of California. We're not really looking nearly as much at the droughts right now. There's some drought, but it's not nearly as concerning there. It's really concerning across parts of the central and southern plains. There's definitely a drought there, but the amount of rainfall that we're going to see today is definitely catastrophic with these south to north winds, with this the jet stream. And again, back over the Pacific Ocean, we have all this water vapor coming out of it, so that's just going to cause a lot of concern. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning that also has a tornado possible label. Let me turn off the satellite. Let's go to the live radar feed. There is a new severe thunderstorm warning, though, that's going to be for the Bombay Beach area, Slab City, as well as going toward Desert Beach. This is east of Palm Desert, again, east of the Los Angeles area. This is northeast of San Diego. But we do have a new severe thunderstorm warning going toward Interstate 10. 60-mile-per-hour damaging winds, and as well as a tornado possible label is on this storm. So definitely a bit of a concern. Velocities are going to be very hard to see because of the overall environment that we're in. But there is definitely going to be some rotation back down in here near Slab City. So if you're in those areas, again, make sure you're staying away from windows. Severe weather is a threat today, especially with these outer bands. And these outer bands that I'm talking about are all in this area. They're moving off to the northwest, but all these outer bands are going to continue to move into parts of Southern California. Later this afternoon, we'll have a better chance of isolated tornadoes in the eastern side of California and western Arizona, so kind of on the border. That'll definitely be more concerning as we get to that point. Any more monitors follow the storm chasers and weather channels? Yeah, I used to do that a lot. I'd have multiple monitors watching weather and all that sort of stuff. Good times. I only have 2 monitors. I made a Twitter post on this the other day, but I literally only have 2 monitors, a laptop screen and a regular monitor. I've always had it that way whenever I'm doing live streams and stuff. But I honestly need at least a third one at some point. But my laptop only supports 2, so. Chance of evacuation for LA. There's definitely a chance. But I mean, you probably wouldn't. I mean, you might get an evacuation order, but you more than anything, if you're under a flash flood warning and there's also rising waters, you're probably not gonna be able to evacuate. You would probably have to just go to higher ground, which would mean like getting on top of your roof or something like that. So, yeah. Again, if you're in this area, just friendly reminders, make sure you charge up your phones, your laptops, all that sort of stuff, have multiple sources of light, and have multiple ways to receive alerts. Because again, it's going to be a very active afternoon with how much rain there will be. There's definitely a chance you're under a flash flood warning. Your flash flood warning at some point down the road could go to even maybe a flash flood emergency, which would mean there's catastrophic flooding ongoing, so keep that in mind. But evacuations, I mean, one of the things about evacuating here, I mean, you should definitely, I mean, if you haven't already, it's probably a better thing to evacuate if you're back over in parts of Southern California, like in this area, because there will definitely be excessive rainfall here. Back near Los Angeles, if you have another place to go that's north and west of Los Angeles, away from all this rainfall, I'd recommend it, but again, you don't have to, but you should definitely stay weather aware if you're staying. Again, it's not going to be, not everybody's seeing catastrophic flooding, but those that do definitely can be very dangerous. If you're in like a let's say a one-story home or like in a mobile home, you don't have higher ground, you probably would you might want to make different plans and stay somewhere else for the night if you're able to, but it's definitely more of a precautionary measure. We have more flash flood warnings, by the way, being issued north and east in San Diego. And again, this can be a common thread and common reoccurrence throughout the afternoon will be these flash flood warnings. We only have about 4 right now in parts of Southern California. There's a couple back over near Los Angeles as well. But there will be much more over the next several hours, especially near Riverside and back near San Diego. This is an area that will have more flash flood warnings for sure, with how much rainfall is going to be falling. And as well as back through the Palm Desert and Palm Springs area, there's definitely going to be some excessive rainfall there over the next several hours. One second. All right. Slab City consists of trailers and dwellings. I've actually, I think, heard of Slab City. And the reason why is I'm pretty sure Mr. Beast made a video out of Slab City a long time ago. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure he did. So, that is possible. Could be wrong, though. But yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of areas down here in Southern California that are definitely going to be like more one-story type homes, and that's across a large chunk of California, though. I mean, I've been to California, and I remember a lot more one-story homes, and unfortunately, that's the biggest concern. If you're on like a 2-story home, you have a better chance, at least like if you can get to the roof with access. That's obviously a better situation. If you're on a 1-story, it only goes up so many feet. Obviously, it shouldn't get to that point, but some areas could, especially down here in like the Bombay Beach area, Slab City, south of Interstate 10, even north of Interstate 10. Again, the excessive rainfall outlook today goes all the way through these areas. Let me pull up the probabilities here. But this is your high risk here of flash flooding. So it does include basically just west of Slab City, back through Interstate 15 and Interstate 40 into southwest Nevada, east of Los Angeles, and as well as in Los Angeles, that's where there's a moderate risk of flash flooding. So if you're anywhere in the pink area, or if you're back over in that red shaded region, that's where there is definitely a chance for some catastrophic flooding. And then if you're outside of that in the yellow or green shaded areas, there's definitely a lesser chance of that overall. Rosario, Mexico. Again, I might not be saying these names right, but let me check out where that is. Just south of there. Yeah, so just south of San Diego. I mean, this is an area as well where there will definitely be some heavy rainfall that could lead to some flooding. Let me check out to see. Hope the rainfall totals here. I mean, this is just an estimate on rainfall today, at least from now through the rest of today. And that area is not going to probably see too much more rain. So right now it's around 1 to 2 inches of rain, maybe up to 3 inches of rain for the rest of today. Isolated 4-inch pocket is possible, but it's a bit more unlikely. But see if we can go back a little bit, back to the 12Z mile run, because this will give us a better idea of what we're looking at there. Yeah, so I mean, there's been some significant rainfall, probably somewhere between 2 to 4 inches of rain. Again, in that area, I'm not entirely sure what the terrain is, but my guess is that there's probably at least been some minor flooding, maybe moderate flooding. But if you can get a hold of them, that'd be obviously preferred. But again, I can't really give you much of an idea about that area. I don't have any really detail about anywhere in the Mexico. I really don't have a whole lot of detail in this area quite yet. I mean, there's obviously flash flood warnings. We've already seen a little bit of flooding, but you're back down over there. There's definitely a chance of at least some flooding that's ongoing, but it's probably on the minor side, I would guess. Why would they evacuate on a tropical storm? Great question. Again, it's because of the heavy rainfall. All this rain we're going to see could lead to some catastrophic flooding, and that's why, you might evacuate. We're really not looking at a whole lot of storm surge out of this, like high waves causing storm surge and all that sort of stuff. We're really not looking at that, and we're not looking at high winds. It's because of how much rain is falling. And that would be the only reason, really, why somebody would probably evacuate. You might evacuate because of the high winds if you're in, like, a mobile home and you're, like, San Diego. I mean, that's possible, but it'd be more than anything for the excessive amount of rainfall that would be coming out of this. And by the way, if you have any photos or videos of this ongoing event, maybe you have a little bit of minor flooding in your area, you can feel free to send it in to us on Max Velocity WX on Twitter, and that's at Max Velocity WX on Twitter. There is a link to that in the description below. And a friendly reminder, if you're tuning in for the first time, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It does help, or make sure to like the stream. That does help get this out to more people. And again, make sure you're subscribed. We'll be keeping you updated with the latest on Tropical Storm Hillary as it moves off to the north. San Bernan, I don't know, I have no clue how to say that. North of Riverside, that's where that is. It's basically east of Los Angeles. If you're in that area, again, there's definitely a chance for some rainfall totals exceeding 2 to 4 inches in diameter. It's a little bit more increased in that pink shaded area. So kind of near the mountains here, off to the north of Los Angeles, and also near Riverside, going toward Victorville. That's where there's going to be a bit more of an increased risk there of flash flooding, where the heaviest of the rain is expected to fall. Which, again, a lot of the rain that we're having right now out there is light to moderate. There's a little bit of heavy rain in a couple areas, a couple pockets, again, of a little bit of heavy rain that's moving off to the north and the west, but near Victorville and Riverside, there is definitely a little bit of rain there that's starting to pick up now. You can see it on radar, and that'll start to fill in more over the next several hours, so increased amount of rain will definitely fall there. Dino, thank you. I missed this message. Let's see. Never mind. Bernardino? Is that what it is? With that, whatever I can. But yeah, in that area, again, there's a bit more of an increased risk of flash flooding. Again, the pink area that you see here, that's the Weather Prediction Center's forecast saying that this is where we're going to be looking at the highest chance or highest probability of excessive rainfall, and this area is the most likely to see that, which will lead to some flooding. And there's also a flooding report down here from a little while ago. I haven't really looked at this, but there's a flooding report as of 1:27, which is the Central Time. Don't forget, I'm on Central Time, so this would be approximately around 11 o'clock-ish, 11:30. In Pacific time, I believe. Yeah, 11:30 Pacific time. So Campo, California, though, 21 miles east of there, in San Diego County. There's debris, rocks, and mud in the Copa Road area. So, again, that's going to be a common occurrence today. There's a lot of flooding reports also near Interstate 5. Large rock and slow lane on northbound Interstate 5, 5.5 miles north of Fraser on Fraser Mountain Park Road. That's as of about an hour ago, and then back over near Grapevine Road on Interstate 5. Again, another large rock. That's the same report pretty much, but in a different area. Another large rock. There's multiple large rocks in this lane. Another large rock blocking number 3 lane on I-5, south of Wheeler Ridge, partially blocking lane 4 as well. So again, this is the concern today, is how much rain is going to fall. That's going to lead to some rocks, in this case falling, but mudslides, in addition to obviously some catastrophic flooding in a couple areas. Also near the Sand Canyon Road location in Kern County, there's also more large rocks on a road 3 miles just north of the, don't know how to say that name, but near a boulevard there on West Shoulder, requiring county road clearance with plow. So another pretty common reoccurrence in this area that'll be pretty unfortunate for this entire region with all the rain that we're going to see. It's going to lead to the catastrophic flooding potential here, unfortunately. And again, large rocks being on an interstate does not help anybody. Thanks, Squirrel, for the $1.99. I appreciate it. The generosity. Bernardino, thank you. Grapevine has a lot of burned vegetation. Yeah, there's unfortunately a lot of wildfires in California too, especially during this time of the year. But this should help to soak these areas just enough for those wildfires to not be nearly as concerning as we go throughout the rest of August and hopefully into September as well. But a late start to fall is probably going to happen here across the United States. In a lot of areas, not everywhere, but the Northeast, believe it or not, has been below average on weather this time, or for this year in terms of temperatures. Or this summer, I should say. Texas has been well above average. High temperatures have been insanely hot there. Which, Dallas-Fort Worth at DFW Airport, the current high temperature is 107 degrees. It could get to 110 today. Their average high for this time of the year is like 95 or 94, so like nowhere near average. Very hot over there. When am I going to post again? Again, I've been away. I've been on vacation. I'm in a completely different area than I usually am. I'm not in my studio, so I'm not even in my normal setup. But I'll have normal videos again by tomorrow. Be back in my studio. Yeah. Again, I'm in like a very defunct type of studio. I don't have my lighting. I don't have my normal monitor. I don't really have anything, so it's pretty basically like kind of like scratch setup, if you will. Work in progress, I'll say that. Pretty much what it is. Thanks, Kate. Also, I don't know if the mic is echoey at all. It might be. I can't tell on my end, but it might be a little bit of echoey as well, but that should be fixed the next time I do record in here. Thanks, Matt. Not echoing? I can hear my echo, but I'm pretty sure I don't really have anything in here. It's a pretty empty room. But this will be my new studio down the road, so in about a week. Or actually about a half a week, this will be my new studio. But it's a work in progress. The light, by the way, the lightning light that I used to have, you might remember if you've been here for a while, that will be making a return. I want to throw that out there. It will be making a return. So, look forward to that if you've been here for a while. I used to use that way back, though. That was back in, like, late, or, like, it was basically mid-summer was probably the last time I actually used it on a live stream. Maybe late end of last summer. So, it's been about a year. New severe thunderstorm warning back over near the Bombay Beach area. Or an update, I believe. That's just an update. There is a new severe thunderstorm warning, though, for those near the Palm Desert area in Indo. Let's go to the radar feed here. So, new severe thunderstorm warning near Coachella, Palm Desert, north of the Coolidge area, or Coolidge Springs region. This is near Route 86, Interstate 10. This is again for damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour, and there's also again a chance for a brief tornado out of this activity. And we're going to have that chance increase over the next few hours for an isolated tornado or two, as all these storms do move off to the north. So that's what we'll be looking at here over the next several hours. Thanks, Alpha. Yeah, I wanted to go live for this, like, yesterday, but I was on vacation. I still was this morning. I just got back, so. Been out in the sun a lot, so I'm kind of burnt. Yeah, this is a tough area to live in terms of weather. It might not seem tough because you guys never see tornadoes in California, but the wildfires and I mean, this is a bit more of a rare event, but there are like bomb cyclones that we saw like back last winter, like December, that also impacted this region. And tropical systems like this, they can bring excessive rainfall. So the weather systems that happen here can be very hit or miss. They can be very aggressive very easily with this type of environment. Mary, I go back next week. Not like this week, but next week. Yeah, my video schedule might be a bit more, I would say, wacky once we go back to like into early September. We'll probably be more all over the place at first, but it should be more. I'll probably be going back to night videos, and it seems like more of you guys enjoy when I upload around 5 o'clock anyways, so I'll probably be going back to that schedule where I'm doing the weather forecasts around, or uploading them around 5 o'clock Central, 4:35. I'll try to probably do at least a few in the morning if needed. It also depends on the day. Mad Cow, waterspouts usually don't happen over here because of, I mean, there's usually not a whole lot of setups that actually have them. It could be associated with the water temperatures, but I'm not entirely 100% sure on that. But waterspouts don't usually happen over here. I mean, we usually don't have massive storms off coast. You know, back over in like the Gulf of Mexico, for example, that's an area that's very active with storm activity, and a lot of which those storms are having overshooting cloud tops, like a normal supercell will have overshooting cloud tops, very high cloud tops in general, upwards of 40, 50, 60,000 feet in some instances, and those are the ones that usually produce those water spouts. Over here in California, I mean, if you look off the coast right now, it's just rain, right? I mean, there's nothing really here in terms of a actual organized storm. It's a lot of yellow. Here's your velocities. Again, there's nothing here that's indicating rotation anywhere. You would actually need some sort of storm, like an actual supercell, and we don't have that here. So, water spouts are a lot more common back over in the Atlantic, especially with the warmer water temperatures, more tropical environment overall. More calculus? No, I don't have any more calculus. Calculus is done. I'm in DiffEq, which is differential equations, and that's my last math, I think. This semester will probably be my toughest one. I have 4 more to go, but this will probably be my toughest one. After this, it should be a lot easier. So severe weather coverage will be more common for me in the spring, and as well as the following spring. I'm trying to stack up most of my stuff for this semester because it's going to probably not be as active. I remember last fall, the only thing I really covered was a hurricane and a couple of random severe weather events. So I go live very often. So, you know, last summer I went live dozens of times per month. During the fall, I went live maybe a dozen times for the entire fall. So that's kind of how I'm stacking things up anyways. Yes, meteorology. Yep. 2 years to go. Never heard of that math. It's basically more advanced calculus. So there will be some calculus. But yeah, if you're in Southern California, there are some flowing waterways over roads now. Some of which are very muddy. Fortunately. There's also some supercells, which the supercells that we're looking at are back over here near the Bombay Beach area, which there's already flooding beginning in this area, even though there hasn't been a whole lot of rain. So, it doesn't take much rain for flooding in this region, unfortunately. We want you to be very stressful in college. That's fantastic. I'm stressed on a daily basis, but college just makes everything so much better. Yeah, college is going to probably be pretty stressful this semester, especially with balancing this as well. But following semester shouldn't be as bad. If EQ sucks, yeah, I kind of figured. But after this semester, things should get better. Let's just hope. If you have any questions regarding the weather, feel free to leave those in the chat. And all this rain activity moving off to the north and northwest. Flash flooding, or flooding in general, is the main concern today. The storm's moving off to the north at 25 miles per hour, Vincent. It's going pretty quick. And again, the eye, let's zoom out and go back to the satellite imagery here. But the eye of it right now is approximately 50 to 75 miles south of San Diego. It's right about here right now. Again, approximate location, but it's going to be going towards San Diego over the next few hours. Thanks, Tracy. All right. Let's see here. Is anybody, by the way, right now in Southern California? Are you guys seeing anything right now? Kind of curious. I'm not sure if anybody's in any of the supercell action or any of the flash flood warnings right now. I know a lot of you probably watching are in the Los Angeles area, but back over in Southern California in particular, flash flood warnings been in effect for a little while, so I know there's some flooded over roadways, unfortunately, but that's going to be obviously, again, a common occurrence today. In East San Diego, storm seems relatively mild, light to moderate rain all morning, mild wind, eye of hurricane, bars away. Local folks are saying it's a nothing burger. Yeah, again, it's really more of a rain threat. San Diego actually will see a little bit higher winds later. I wouldn't rule out isolated power outages out of that. There is my water bottle. But overall, the main concern for flash flooding is going to be just to your east. So if you're back over in this pink shaded area, that is where flooding is likely to occur in a lot of areas. In terms of, some flood over roadways, mudslides if you're near the mountains. San Diego, actually, you might see it, but this is the Weather Prediction Center's forecast. They actually did have a small slight risk region kind of pop up here, even though San Diego's in that red shaded area, which is that moderate risk. But the rain does add up over time. So, I mean, you still have multiple hours of rain to go. So there could still be some flooding in that area. Luckily, there's been no reports yet in San Diego of flooding. The heavier of the bands, though, have been up here to your north and west. So back over near Los Angeles. But a lot of heavier bands of rain over here. All this yellow and red that you're seeing, that's heavier, at least moderate bands of rain. A couple heavy pockets, but nothing too out of the ordinary. But yeah, back over in San Diego and whatnot, it's been a lot lighter of rainfall. There hasn't been a whole lot of moderate rain even in this area, which is good news for sure. But Los Angeles and the outskirts of San Diego have a better chance of that flooding potential, especially since it's been so dry. Even Death Valley, by the way, has that chance of flooding. In Barstow, California, lightning struck a utility pole. It's unsafe for traffic to pass. As a result, I-15 is closed between Barstow Road and L Street. Traffic is being diverted through town. This is a thing that I didn't really expect today. But that was as of 1 o'clock, so about 25 minutes ago. Right in here. I'm just going to zoom in. I don't know where the road is. I don't think it's right here, but that's apparently where lightning just struck a utility pole, which the storm activity up there doesn't seem to be much storm activity up there, so very interesting. That's at least as of the time of the report, so very interesting to say the least. How do you get a pink tornado? That comes after 12 months, I believe, of being a member. If you're a member on the channel for longer than 12 months, I think that's when you get it. Yeah, it's 12 months. Ads shouldn't be allowed for weather content. I mean, I need ads for this page to run. There's a lot of expenses that go into this weather studio. The only ad that you'll ever get in terms of on a YouTube live stream or a video is going to be at the beginning, or on a YouTube live stream in particular, it's at the beginning. Otherwise, I mean, I'm just doing this for free and I can't pay off the expenses I have for the setup that I have. So that's why there are ads, but it's only at the beginning. They don't go throughout the live stream. So if you watch for 60 minutes nonstop, you're only going to have that one ad. So, and they're usually skippable on YouTube. But again, I'm very transparent, very honest. It's just kind of how it goes. Otherwise, I'm not going to be getting anything to be able to pay off all the expenses that we have. Apocalypse talk is overblown. This is by no means an apocalypse sort of talk. I mean, yeah, it's going to be overhyped in terms of, being this massive storm that's going to be bringing flooding everywhere. I mean, that's not happening. It's going to be more of an isolated threat in terms of catastrophic flooding, but it's really the areas that are going to be seeing the worst impacts are probably going to be more in the rural areas. So that pink shaded area that you see here, that's outside of San Diego and that's outside of Los Angeles. But even in Los Angeles, I really think San Diego probably will not be too bad. Los Angeles will probably be on the worst side of things in terms of the rainfall because of having more of the moderate rainfall happen over the next several hours. And this moderate rainfall will add up quicker. The rain that's in San Diego is not really, I mean, the rainfall rates in San Diego right now are not that impressive. But notice where the flash flood warnings are. That's pretty important. Look at these green boxes. This is where there is flooding ongoing, and this is going to continue to increase over the next several hours. So, again, kind of on the outskirts of San Diego, that's where the heaviest rainfall is. So if you're not seeing flooding, that's a good thing, and obviously you're not seeing the worst of the storm right now, but there's a chance that you could down the road, or you might just get missed, and the areas outside of you will have, you know, the flooding potential. But by no means is this like a quote-unquote bust or overhyped event in general. There will obviously be some news sources that'll kind of blow this out of proportion, saying flooding's going to happen for everybody. Not everybody will see flooding, but you want to be prepared for that flooding threat. Make sure you're prepared for weather in terms of the excessive rainfall leading to the flooding potential. But a widespread 2 to 4 inches is likely in terms of rainfall, which 2 inches might not cause flooding. 4 inches very well could, though, and then et cetera, et cetera. We could get upwards of 10 inches of rain out of an isolated band or two. An isolated location or two, excuse me. A band or two of rain could produce rainfall rates as high as 2 inches an hour, but most of the rainfall right now is about a half an inch to an inch and a half per hour. Thank you, Ryan, for the very generous $20 super chat. I appreciate that a lot, Ryan. Thank you. Some other dude I watched had a lot of tornado ads during a tornado event. We only have one ad. If it's a sponsored stream, which the only company that right now sponsors us on YouTube is Radar Omega, which is what we're using right now, but we're not sponsoring this one. But that would be the only other ad, but that's not like something that you have to watch. But yeah, again, we don't do ads throughout the live stream. There's just one. And that's the beginning ad there. Thank you again, Ryan, though. I do appreciate your very generous $20 super chat. Just text a friend in Long Beach. They're okay. Yeah, Long Beach is going to be an area to watch for. I think if you're going to see any excessive rainfall or flooding in this area, it's probably going to be up here. Like on the north and east side of Los Angeles, maybe near Anaheim. But if you're in like Long Beach, I don't think it's going to be too concerning, but there's still a chance for some isolated flooding. Yes, Green, they are. I can see your message. Yes, this event is rare. I mean, we don't see tropical storms every year in California, and we usually don't even see them every decade. It's very rare in terms of that, but the amount of rain this is bringing because of how much water vapor we have is really the more concerning feature to this entire thing. So if we go to the water vapor imagery, again, we have this strong jet stream pulling all this moisture to the north. From south to north, all the water vapor and all that water vapor content is bringing excessive rainfall to areas. And that's really what's concerning, is because of this tropical storm bringing all this moisture out of the Pacific Ocean, that's going to lead to excessive rainfall. That's why it's really rare in that regard as well, of the excessive rainfall, because Southern California doesn't see events like this. I mean, this is essentially all the rain that you're going to see here in Southern California is usually how much rain you see in 1 year for some areas. Some areas will see the amount of rainfall that they see over an entire year. So that's another rare part of this entire thing. And I don't know when the last tropical storm made landfall in California, but it's been, I'm pretty sure, at least a few decades. I could be mistaken on that, but it's been a while. It doesn't have, I think there's only been like 3 that have ever made landfall. But I know for sure tropical storm warnings have never been issued for California. So that's also a rarity to this entire event. But there's a lot of rare aspects to the entire event that have really never happened, at least in our history, since history began back in the 1900s. Tropical Storm Franklin has just developed, by the way, in the Caribbean Sea. The National Hurricane Center has officially made it so that this over here is a tropical storm. I'm going to real quickly just show you what this looks like on the satellite imagery. This is what it looks like on the water vapor imagery. So a lot of water vapor. I'm not sure if we'll get a track on this live stream. It should come out at some point, though, soon. I just clicked the wrong thing. Here's the current satellite imagery, though. So some very high cloud tops. This is an increasing area of convection. This is going to be our new tropical storm. Tropical Storm Franklin. So this will be issued at 5 o'clock Eastern time. So about half an hour from now. So again, this is officially now a tropical storm in the Caribbean Sea. And as of right now, wave height's near 10 feet. This is a photo from that recently. Very high waves. You can actually see it here. Some photos taken hourly during daylight operations. Yeah, about 9-foot waters. Temperature, I don't think was given on that one. It's not given on this one either. I'm not sure where the water temperature is. Here's water temperature. The sea surface temperature on the water is 85 degrees. So again, very favorable. It might be a little bit warmer than that, but again, that's going to be our new tropical storm officially. Tropical Storm Franklin. This is likely to go out to sea, though. I don't think this will really come toward the United States. This should be taking a boomerang turn to the north and northeast toward Bermuda, and then back over in the Gulf of Mexico. That is a system that is not going to be a tropical storm probably anytime soon. If it does become one, it's going to be pretty close to landfall in Texas, which even then it'll probably be a weak tropical storm, so nothing too crazy there. It's the latest, again, Tropical Storm Franklin. That has now been named in the Atlantic Ocean. Probably another tropical storm or two to be named this week as well. So, again, pretty active week overall. How does this tropical storm compare to Hurricane Ian? It does not compare at all. I mean, this will not bring as much rainfall as Ian did. Ian brought some areas 22 to 24 inches of rain, which I experienced it firsthand. But, yeah, again, this is not going to compare at all to Ian. In terms of wind, in terms of rainfall, in terms of power outages, none of that. Ian was way worse. How's it going, Rainbow? I did get a haircut, yes. Again, the lighting and all that, if you're, a normal viewer, lighting is bad and all that sort of stuff. Again, I'm not my normal setup. I'm in a completely different area than I usually am, so I'm not my normal studio. I'll be back in my normal studio tomorrow. All this will be fixed for this particular studio down the road. And this is just kind of temporary. Because again, I was on vacation from Thursday until today. I got back today in a different place, and we're just kind of going with it. So, yeah. You will not exceed 137 mile per hour winds out of this at all. It's pretty much impossible for that to happen. Notice my haircut, nothing else. The lighting is horrible. I mean, my face looks... you can't even see it. It's kind of dark. A couple more updates. Tropical Depression 6 is encountering more shear over in the Western Atlantic, or not really Western Atlantic, but kind of near the Lesser Antilles. And also, Tropical Storm Emily is expected to weaken over the next couple days. One other thing I want to show you on the satellite imagery. I think we can look at this. There's a tropical depression over here. I'm not sure if it's going to pop up. I'm not sure if yeah, here's the tropical depression right here. This is a tropical depression in the Atlantic Ocean. This is such a cool little thing to see. Look at how this thing got sheared. This is your eye right here of this tropical storm. All the convection gets sheared off by very strong shear. All this is convection. This is your eye. And these are like low-level clouds. It's a very interesting little setup. But wind shear is very, very, very critical for a tropical storm or hurricane to weaken in the Atlantic Ocean, or really any ocean in general. When we have stronger shear, this will increase the potential of it basically weakening out. And this right here is where it is. The wind shear, I'm pretty sure, is around 50 knots or something like that. It's well up there. So that's your low pressure system with this tropical depression. All this shear is kind of cutting this thing off. It's a pretty cool way to see it, though. Let's see if I can go back 50 frames. This is it right here. You can see it. Look at that spin right here. This is where it is. Convection on the northeast side blowing up. Strengthens a little bit in terms of its convection. It all gets sheared off, though. I mean, that's incredible to see on the satellite imagery. So, kind of a little cool thing. Obviously, that's not happening with Tropical Storm Hillary, but this did happen with a tropical depression over the Atlantic Ocean, which that's not expected to become anything, by the way, for those that are curious. And I think tomorrow's forecast, I'm going to have a video tomorrow. Tomorrow's video will probably be based on the Atlantic tropics. That is my plan. Yeah, I mean, tornadoes, if we do see any tornadoes in California today, they will probably be on the weak and brief side of things. But, again, a tornado is a tornado. It can cause damage if you're in, like, a smaller one-story home, or if you're in a mobile home. That's definitely more concerning for those types of things. Mobile homes especially, they don't hold up very well with any type of severe weather. That includes damaging winds. Tornadoes, winds can be 60 miles per hour, and a mobile home could get seriously damaged. So, if you're in a mobile home, definitely make sure you're staying safe tonight. And if you have not already figured out a structural area for this event, you should probably figure that out now before it's too late, in case you are under a tornado warning of some sort, or again, something along those lines. Yeah, there's a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings right now. Again, both of these are tornado possible. There is a supercell that's in here moving off to the north and west. This is where that supercell is. It's along Interstate 10, Moving to the north and west, that area of rainfall right here is the heaviest of the rain. That's where the supercell is located. And if there were to be a tornado, it would be located here. We don't have a very good view of the velocities just due to the fact there's just so much wind in this area, aloft as well. So it looks kind of skewed, but the rotation would be located along Interstate 10 there north of Desert Beach. Reed is in the storm. Is he actually live? I haven't even looked. I've been so busy this weekend, I barely looked at anything. I'm looking at Twitter a lot about Hillary, though. Oh yeah, he's live. I didn't even know. I like water parks. That's a very random question, but yeah, water parks are cool. Depends on what it is, though. Yeah, in this area, especially if you're back over in like the El Centro area, Slab City, Bombay Beach area, there's definitely an increased risk of flooding here. Mainly due to the fact that it's been so dry, but even a few inches of rain would be way more than they've seen in a long time. So this is a concerning area in terms of that rainfall, and flooding is going to be a bit more increased here. And then back near Los Angeles and San Diego, again, we've been over it multiple times, but San Diego probably going to see more of lighter rain for the next several hours. It'll accumulate, but flooding will be more isolated. And then back over near Los Angeles, rainfall will be more prominent on the north and east side of Los Angeles. That's where we're going to be watching for more of a significant flooding threat, with maybe some catastrophic flooding, but outside of there, it'll probably not be nearly as bad at this point. This heat dome makes me want to turn my house into a water park. That sounds like a great idea. Alrighty, let me just check to see if there's anything new on Twitter. Yeah, again, this will be continuing to move off to the north over the next several hours, bring rainfall. Again, make sure you're staying weather aware. Here's again the satellite imagery. Let's go back to the satellite here in northeast Pacific Ocean. This is what it looks like right now. So again, a lot of rainfall over the next several hours. This will continue to move to the north. It's going to be going through areas in Southern California, bringing the threat for significant rainfall. Again, that could lead to several inches of rain, possibly as many as 6 to 10 inches in isolated locations, but a widespread 2 to 4 inches of rain are expected. There's a high risk of excessive rainfall today across a large chunk of Southern California, primarily east of Los Angeles and east of San Diego. That's where the greatest risk of flash flooding does exist, if catastrophic flooding is possible. Make sure have a plan in place in case there is a flash flood warning for your location and you have to go to higher ground. Have multiple ways to receive alerts, and make sure you're staying weather aware all the way through this evening, because there will be a threat for rain all the way through there, which could lead again to some flooding. So make sure you're staying weather aware today. That's going to be it for this live stream. I might go live again later. I'm not entirely sure, but I don't really have a good setup right now. I'm going to see what we can do here over the next couple hours, but that's going to be it for the stream for now. I'll try to see if I can go live again later, but for right now, I think overall the main rain is happening now. Over the next couple hours, landfall is expected again in a couple hours or so that'll be happening then. But again, this studio setup will be much better in the future. Again, I have no lighting right now or anything like that, so it looks kind of poor, but again, things will be improved here pretty soon. This is going to be a shorter live stream anyways. It's going to be about like 1 or 2 hours, so. But I do appreciate everybody tuning in, and stay safe this afternoon and evening. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Click the like button down below if you found the stream informative. And again, make sure you're subscribed. It's that red button down below, and you can go ahead and join the Velocities. Also, make sure to become a member if you would like to support the page. There's a link to that in the top of the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you guys all again soon. Again, stay safe. Have multiple ways to receive alerts. Charge up your devices. Have flashlights on hand just in case you do lose power tonight. Have a great day. If I don't go live again tonight, I'll have a video for you tomorrow. See you.